or so, because Sheets will jump on in and probably take over and maybe take you guys all the way up to lock. But I'm going to talk through what we're at right now. I'm still waiting on some notifications about what's going to happen here, because I think that there's going to be some news that we just haven't gotten to yet. So let's get to the priority plays as of now, as I see them, and I'll go, in order, not in order of my favorite plays, but these are the guys who are my favorite overall plays in the slate that I have the most exposure to on DK. And then I'll talk about FanDuel in a minute. Devin Booker, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Kelly Oubre, Hayward, or Washington. I think you want to play one or two of those guys, but I don't know if we want to play all three of them in the same lineup, especially with it being the first game and some questionable news to come. Kuzma or Dinwiddie, I don't mind if you want to put them both together, especially in some sort of maybe a mini stack if you're going to play Bam on the other side, who I do like, but is not one of my priority plays. I also do think Kyle Lowry is a really strong play on FanDuel and is very interesting on DraftKings at what should be somewhat low ownership, no hero. Lowry's a little too cheap in general, and we still don't know about Butler. So assuming we don't know before 7 Eastern, I would definitely get some exposure there, and you could run it back with Kuzma and Dinwiddie. There's a bunch of other guys who you could include, but they're not priorities for me. Harrell, Rui, KCP, they're in the mix for me, but they're not priorities. Other guys' priorities, Alec Burks, I'm going to bite a little bit on this one. And if you're worried because you won't be able to make switches, because there is some Knicks trade talks out there, which would definitely, he could be in that mix. So be a little bit careful with that one. But I like Donovan Mitchell in that game quite a bit as well. It gives you some 2v2 swap ability. If we do hear about that late, you can go to some guys. Maybe you don't want to as much, but I think it's still viable to play those two. So those are my DraftKings priority ones. On FanDuel, the guys who I still like Burks over there, by the way. And I think he'll be lower owned on FanDuel because you have the other 5,100 guys all the same, or Hayward's 52 and Bogdanovich is 51. I consider both those guys priorities for me on FanDuel. I love Lowry, as I mentioned. Love VanVleet on both sides. Giddey is a priority play for me on FanDuel. I love Scotty Barnes on FanDuel. Actually, I like Scotty Barnes enough on both sides, but I think he's a good play on FanDuel. I like DeAndre Ayton on both sides, but I'm finding myself with more of them on FanDuel for whatever reason. And it might just be the way my builds are shaking out, as well as Pascal Siakam, again, as my favorite play. One of my favorite plays on the slate, along with VanVleet in that great matchup against Charlotte. So those are my priorities. Other guys who are, are definitely in consideration. Crowder, I mentioned Ayton already. Kevon Looney, Trey Mann. Even though he killed me Friday, it cost me $50K. That was a brutal one. Rozier, LaMelo, Miles Bridges. I mentioned Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby. I like all of these guys, but the guys who I mentioned at the top of the show are my favorites, and that's who I will be prioritizing to get in most of my lineups. I would love, we can do some funny things if we get some guys out here and maybe play some lower owned guys. I like Duncan Robinson or Max Struss as a potential value play, and you can use them and maybe you find better value by that time. But both those guys are capable of knocking in like 7 or 8 threes, and on a slate like this, a small slate like this, I think it's a really interesting value play. I don't think you'll get crazy ownership. I think you'll get some on Robinson, less on Struss, unless we lose Jimmy Butler. So that's where I'm at. Pop in with your questions. We'll see when Sheets gets on in here, and we'll go from there. What's up, K9 Bronco? Toronto, game stack, VanVleet and Siakam. Let's do it. You know what? It almost worked for me on Friday, but damn Trey Mann and damn my switching. I mean, I would have gotten second in the alley-oop if I didn't switch. But I switched over from Bazley to Trey Mann, and that doesn't feel so good looking back at it. Bazley also in play today, by the way. On FanDuel, when I pivot Lowry to Dinwiddie, I feel Lowry will be highly owned. I do like Dinwiddie on both sites, so I'm totally fine with that. I actually, in my first build, had both of them. No, I had one build with both of them and one build with VanVleet and Lowry. But I like Dinwiddie quite a bit as well. So I think that's an interesting pivot. I'm just gonna take a look at what I expect Dinwiddie's ownership to be on FanDuel. And I mean, below 20% at 6,200, even in a bad matchup, we've just seen him so many times without Beal. Now, I know he's had some down games too, but that's sort of why we're getting this low ownership on him. We were getting, if this just happened and Beal was just out, we might be talking about fading us like a 60, 70% on Dinwiddie. Instead, playing him at low ownership, I can certainly get behind. Even though the matchup does suck, I still can definitely get behind it. So that's where I'm at over there. And keep popping in the questions, keep popping in your thoughts, anything that I maybe didn't touch on that you want to know about. I think we're still waiting on information, so it's kind of tricky to know exactly what to do. And I think, it's another one of those slates where we don't have that obvious spend up. I think that oddly enough, though, because of the lack of value, now it's really weird. Like you have Steph Curry, who's going to be pretty low owned. And that's a little bit enticing because if that game can even stay remotely close, or even if it doesn't, Steph could put up 60 and have be the highest scoring player on the slate in 3 quarters in this kind of a matchup. And I just don't think anybody's going to do it. So, or that many people are. But then again, if we get a couple guys announced out, everybody's going to do it. So it's one of those funny spots where I don't expect him to be high owned, but he might be like one of the highest owned spend ups on the slate. It's just we're waiting on information, and it's really hard to assess some of this stuff. And it's basically in the same spot we were at this morning. Unfortunately, we keep hearing this news late. I'm really frustrated by it because I think that we should set something up for the NBA. Like this is the more people that are betting, this is really not a friendly way of doing this. And I think the NBA needs to take a look at itself in the offseason, and hopefully they will. Hopefully they will at the All-Star break, so we don't have to keep stressing so much. At the same time, we benefit from the stress. We benefit from the late changes. We are the ones doing it. There are so many average players just not doing that. So it does help us. It's just a lot more stressful of an environment, and I'd like to have a little bit of a relief from them anyway. I actually like this Brian Brooks question. What's the viability of Whiteside? I don't think that it's like a good average play, but it's a great tournament play. And I don't think it really matters whether he's starting or not. I think that there's a way he can get there anyway. We've seen this with him for years now. He absolutely crushes occasionally. And that's enough on this kind of a slate to get a little different and play a low-owned Whiteside where he could absolutely smash again. I mean, the Knicks are a tough matchup for centers, but we know what Whiteside has in him, right? I think maybe a better play on FanDuel because you get the 5 or 6 blocks and maybe a steal or two. And all of a sudden you're almost home. All you need is, the normal rebounding and points numbers. And he's playing enough minutes. So I actually think he looks so disinterested and so weird out there. But at the same time, for fantasy production, I think that's a really good large field GPP play. I don't think I would do it in a small field GPP unless you just want, you feel like your lineup's chalky and you want to differentiate one spot. That is one spot and one guy who can get you that 8X at a 6K price that does feel like somewhat appealing. I don't know how much I'm going to do of it, but I am going to do it in some large field stuff for sure. I think it's a really, really good large field play. I even think you could throw Klay Thompson in the mix for large field plays, but the problem with him is you feel like its ceiling's so capped. The only thing is, against a bad team, I mean, he can make 8 threes in 3 quarters. He can make 8 threes in 28 minutes. It's not like he hasn't done it before. He scored, in real life, how many points did he end up with in that game where he broke the record for the scoring quarter? Anyway, he scored 60 something in 29 minutes in that game. So he's definitely capable of it. The Dort injury, no, I can't speculate because right now it looks like he's a legit game time decision. And I don't really know what to do with a team like OKC. I'm not going to take a hard line hardly ever with a team like that because they generally, and by the way, it doesn't open up that much if he's out unless you get certain guys starting. And even then you're talking about thin Kenrich Williams plays who's viable anyway, and probably would be over-owned if he does go out. So we need to know about that, but I don't know if it's going to make the biggest, and I don't want to speculate on it. I think it makes Giddy a better play, but he's already a good play. Makes Trey Mann a better play, but he's already a fine play. It's really hard to speculate on what OKC is going to do when it comes to anybody with a Q tag. Let's see. Robinson. Yeah, I do like Robinson actually as a long shot large field GPP play. I think he's another one of those guys that we can get that 40 plus possibility out of. And center's not as loaded as we've seen in the past. So today might be the kind of day you want to play a Mitchell Robinson, Duncan Robinson too, but Mitchell Robinson always going to be a little under projected. You do have Noel in there that's going to get some minutes. The minutes could be, he's played 30 minutes back-to-back games. Now I know you had the overtime game against the Lakers, so whatever, but we know he has a ceiling. We've seen the 45, the 50 fantasy point games from him. And even if he gets to 30, I think you're in decent shape, and I don't mind that play at all on DK. Actually, that's a really, both he and Whiteside are clever ways to go where everybody's going to be doing other stuff, even though I don't love them just in a vacuum on a big slate. We wouldn't really talk about them. But on this kind of a slate, I think that is the kind of play that could separate you and possibly win you a tournament if things break your way. So I like that. I like that idea there, Adam. I think it's a really, it's an interesting idea. I don't know how much of it I'm going to end up with, but I definitely will play it in my large field stuff. Butler on FanDuel. I don't have Butler as a priority, but that's partially because I think Butler is a genuine questionable. And we can't talk about, we don't need to talk about him until we find out about that game. That game is the first game of the night. Should he play? Yes, he's a good play on FanDuel. Top play? Probably not. but definitely a really solid play. Never going to have an issue with Butler against Washington, even at 9,600 on this kind of a slate. It's just, do you want to play you play him instead of Lowry and Bam then? I don't know if that's the right thing. I think I would lean a little bit more towards playing Lowry. That's the only reason why I don't have as much of him on FanDuel, but we have to wait to see if he's in for sure. The centers on FanDuel that I'm looking at right now, like I mentioned, I like Ayton. I think that he's an interesting way to, I don't know, an interesting way to go. I think that he's going to be owned probably in the low to mid 20s, but I like Ayton. I don't mind if you want to mix in a low-owned PJ Washington. He might get a little bit of a boost with some of these other guys out for Charlotte. And I think he's okay. I think Plumlee's okay. I don't feel excited about the position for any of these guys. Looney's okay, but I do think Ayton has a ceiling that he can put up, and I think he's an interesting one to me. So I do like Ayton, but I'm not like in love with the center position. Montrezl Harrell, I don't mind mixing him in, but I'm mostly going to be using a lot of those power forwards and centers. The only pure center that I'm really looking at right now on FanDuel is Ayton. And I think Mitch Rob is that long shot play that you talk about, but I don't know that I need to go there. Everybody else is the power forward center eligible. So that's what I would be doing on FanDuel. I wouldn't be like we usually just want to find there's too many good center options. We got Jokic and Embiid and all that stuff. We don't have that on this slate, so we can't really do much with that. Butler in. Okay, that's good to know because for some reason, brand new phone here, and it's not updating not giving me the updates right away, which is a little bit stressful, by the way. It's not making this too fun for me. So hopefully I can get that fixed. I have it set on right, but for some reason I didn't get that update. But Butler being in, yeah, I do think he's a solid play on both sites. Does definitely a knockdown to Bam, probably a bump up for Robinson if you want to know the truth, and definitely obviously makes Strus a tougher play. But I think that he's actually these guys can make 8 threes with Butler out there. He's not like Butler's going to go out there and score 40 points very often. He sets up everybody else. He gets tons of assists. And he does a lot of different things. So I actually think that it doesn't take away that, it takes away a little bit from Lowry being a great play, but on DraftKings. But Lowry's still a really good play on FanDuel. I think Lowry's still a really good play on DraftKings, to be honest with you. So I like that anyway. So I appreciate that that piece of news because since it's from Cincinnati J. All right, let's see if there's anything else that we didn't get to. I love it, Dunbar. Yeah, we're going all LA all week. It's Rams Super Bowl time, so it's going to be Dodgers, Rams, and Lakers stuff that I'm wearing mostly. And I don't particularly want to talk about my Lakers right now. I'm in a very sad position for my guy because he's been so bad. But when your fans, he's an LA guy, and you get your fans yelling at you not to shoot, this is rough business. And we're not. I don't want to be part of these fans. Like that. Let's let the thing play out. Let's let those guys play some games together and see how it goes. See how we feel in a few weeks if we get all 3 of those guys actually playing. And I know, whatever. It's just it's a separate thing. It's frustrating. Anyway, guys, jump on in with more questions, more thoughts, because I don't have a whole lot else to go over until we get other news. That Butler news is helpful to get. Sheets is going to be here soon, and probably in 10 minutes, he says. So that's where we're at. That's right. So there you go. Oh, Dunbar likes the Lakers. You know what? Weirder things definitely have happened, and there is still a lot of talent there. And these guys have not played that much time together, especially when they were playing at the beginning of the season. Remember, they were playing so much of it with Howard or what's his name, the ghost of DeAndre Jordan at the 5. And that was just a terrible, terrible situation. Without those guys on the court at the beginning of the season, they were awesome. They were plus 10 per 100 with those 3, with Westbrook, with AD at the 5 and Westbrook and LeBron playing. But it's a very small sample size, and we just need to see more. Any Trent on DK? Yeah, I do like Trent. I like all of the Toronto guys. I have Trent rated 3rd on DraftKings behind Van Vliet and Siakam. And OG and Scotty Barnes are right there behind them. But OG is the lowest owned of the bunch. So I think he's the one you get different with. And he seems to always be even lower owned than he's projected. So I expect him to be very, very low owned. Look, these other guys are better plays, the other Toronto guys. But I do think there is a path for any one of those guys to have a big game in this environment against Charlotte. All right. If Strauss starts, do I take a flyer on him? Yeah, absolutely. If Strauss is starting, I actually think you could play Strauss even if he's not starting. Now, obviously he's a much worse play on FanDuel than he is on DK because you're going to get basically all of your points from 3-point shooting. He doesn't really do anything else, period. He's pretty much like the worst kind of FanDuel player because he doesn't do anything else. But if he makes 9 threes, it doesn't matter because he's going to have, 35 FanDuel points or whatever. But I would much rather him on DK if you're playing both sites. But he's still fine on FanDuel. Kuminga is an interesting, another great example of a large field GPP play. I really like that call. It's not going to be popular, but the thing you get with it also is like, if Porter and Iguodala are out, then it's a really interesting play. If they play, it's a little less interesting, but I think there's still a path for it there. But like, you guys got to remember, like in blowouts, Golden State will be a little bit quicker to pull their guys because they've got such a solid bench. But in general, the kind of blowouts that really keep people from playing. I mean, there was a game I was watching the other day. I think it was the Jazz playing. I can't remember who it was. It was like a 31-point game with 5 minutes to go, and all the starters were on the court. Oh, Miami did that too. Miami left everybody out on the court till 4 minutes to go, and they were down 30 in a game. So it's just, keep that in mind. It's not like you're getting then you're only getting like 4 minutes of these guys run. So just don't get like overly blowout narrative, I think, on that one. Also, OKC is weirdly like pesky. I think they do get beaten pretty bad tonight, but there's a path where they definitely don't, and they stay within 20 points. And these guys don't really see much of the court until the very end, or their second and third, their late first, early second quarter run. Levine is in. Thank you, Dunbar, for that one. That's a good piece of information. Why are these notifications not coming on? That is really, really frustrating. It's why I had to wait for this weekend to get a new phone, but I cannot understand why these notifications are not working. I'm going to take a picture and send it in to both NBA.com and to RotoGrinders updates, because they're pretty good with their updates over there. White true game time decision. That's fairly relevant for guys like Javonte Green and Troy Brown. I don't think that Troy Brown is that viable with Levine being in, but I do think Javonte Green is still viable, even if both those other guys play. But especially if White's out, I think Javonte Green is probably a little bit of a better play than he is currently. So I think that's really good information to have, and I appreciate you dropping it in. I checked my settings. I've got it. Look, I can show you guys right here. Here, let me show you. I'll just bring it up. Look, all of my settings. NBA, all of them. Oops, wrong camera. See, they're all ready. They're all the right spot. Just not happening. Who do I like for most from Charlotte on FanDuel? It's going to be Gordon Hayward. Is still too cheap, so he would be my favorite at this price. Sheets, welcome on in, and I am probably going to get out of here in a few minutes. So it's good you're coming along. But we were just talking through some of our main plays, and we were finally getting some news that Levine and Butler are in. So that's going to we're not going to get the value that maybe some people thought we might there. But what are you looking at, Cheats, on this later? Do you have any questions, or do you want me to sort of refresh a little bit of some of the priorities we talked about?
Yeah, I just got back, and just before I went on here, I updated projections as of about 10 minutes ago before I got on here. And people were talking in our Discord about process, and trying to go over some of that. I'm just going to tell you exactly what I do, So this is usually what I do is first I update my projections as close to lock as I can. And I have extra duty because I'm doing it for the site also, right? So just want to know what's going on, right? So I updated my projections, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stare at them and see what stands out, and talk about some of these individual plays with Bobby. And then I'm going to run some builds. Today I'm going to use SaberSim, because what I'm doing is I'm going to be playing like 30 lineups in the 15. I'm going to play one bigger one, and maybe one of like the maybe 3 box outs. I'm going to figure out kind of which lineups go where, and then I'm going to do kind of like a quality control. Like, I'm not going to just let the projections and SaberSim, whatever optimizers, just generate my lineups and me not touch them. There's some kind of common sense things that I want to go through, and just based on what I discussed with Bobby, just kind of like manually just either take some guys out or put them in, all within the next 40 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing. Now, with respect to, before I get into talk about it with you, Bobby, right off the bat on DraftKings, it still looks as though those the two big Toronto players and the two big Suns players and Curry are, you know what I mean, are the 5 guys, and I don't have much of a priority really between all 5 of them. They all look the same, but to Toronto, you get that run back, right? That makes it a little bit better. So if you wanted to play, say, Van Vliet and Siakam, or one or two of them or both of them, you can run it back with these Charlotte guys, which I guess we have to talk about. The one thing about that I forgot to mention with the Charlotte is that even though I don't like playing Oubre, I mean the guy that's out, one of the Martins, I guess.
Oubre's a good play for sure.
Yeah, so Oubre's like his minutes are kind of, I don't want to say locked, but they're more predictable. Let's put it that way. So I do like both Oubre and Hayward. And so if you play those two Toronto guys, which I'm considering doing, or at least one of them, run it back with one of those Oubre and Hayward, and you could even put those alongside of LaMelo and do that. So that's one gut instinct. The second thing I will notice is that these two Oklahoma City guys still rate to be good point per dollar plays, whether it be Diakite or Baisley. So that's my first thing. And now the Miami news you said came out, so Butler's going to play, but Hero is not. I don't know if my thing kind of like encompasses that, but I like Duncan Robinson regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So 3,600, I like that. And I also noticed earlier from before that Kemba was out, right? So Quickly and the aforementioned Alec Burks that we discussed earlier are kind of good plays as well. So between those guys, and I'll just the Bryant Harrell center thing for Washington, I still kind of like, and the Jay Crowder from Phoenix. Those are my main guys.
Yeah, so if you're going to play on DraftKings, and as of right now, until that's more value opens up, I don't think anybody's playing Steph Curry. So if you do see those guys as being similar, I would encourage you to play them. I don't see them as being similar, but I do think he's a good tournament play. And I don't like, for what it's worth, I like all these Charlotte guys, but I'm not a huge fan of stacking up three guys that cut deeply into each other with Hayward and Oubre and LaMelo. But I don't mind two of those three.
That makes sense.
Personally, but I would consider maybe throwing PJ Washington instead of Hayward or Oubre if you're going to play LaMelo with one of the other ones. You know what I mean? But
unfortunately,
go ahead.
Yeah, good. I was just saying, unfortunately, part of my process is I'm freaking starving, so I need a pretzel. I'll be right back. You can see.
All right. I'll take a quick look in chat here, see if there's any questions. I gotta get building. I think I answered the Charlotte most on FanDuel. Do I like Cameron Johnson? Not particularly, but again, another guy who can shoot his way into a game. I don't really see this as like, oh, we got to play Cameron Johnson with, basically everybody back. I mean, we were playing Cameron Johnson for a while because these guys were out. Since they've come back, his total is 28 fantasy points, is his highest in the last 4 games with Crowder and Ayton back. And I don't think we need to play that. We've seen an 18 and 19 in there. I think look, people are going to play him some. I don't think I'm going to be one of them. And I don't think he's a very good play. But again, it's hard to say that all the time with shooters because there's always a path for them to get there. If he was 1% on DK, I might take a shot, but he's going to be like 15%, I think. At least that's the current projection I've got on him. Kelly Oubre and Jay Crowder, Project Mayhem, I support it. Go ahead and do it. I like that better. I mean, the thing is, Cam Johnson's fine. It's just I sort of am going the other route and playing the Crowder side of it with the 4,100. He's a little cheaper. RJ Barrett, fine. Nothing. I don't feel like anything special about RJ Barrett. Chiefs, do you have any insight on RJ Barrett? Because I feel like people like him tonight, and I think he's okay. But I don't see any look, Kemba is not really. I mean, it's a little bit of a whatever. There's the stuff with Randall, and there's some weirdness in that game. There's also the Knicks tucking in during a bunch of trade rumors. We know they won't trade Barrett, so if so, maybe Alec Burks and somebody else gets traded by the time that happens, and then Barrett's an awesome play. But I think he's just fine. I don't think he's anything.
Yeah, they've been talking about CJ McCollum coming to New York.
Yep.
Adam Perry with a good bit of info there, actually, some sneaky good info at Dort Inn.
That's really good to know because I did not have that yet. I don't understand what's going on with these alerts. I just showed them my alerts. Why are we not getting them? But it's a new phone, so what am I going to do?
So to answer your question, it's funny as you were somebody was asking about the Knicks guys. I mean, maybe it's gonna be maybe it'll be sneaky to play Randall after all. I don't know. Maybe people get too into the fact that he can't have 2 good games in a row. I don't know.
He's had 2 good ones in a row, but a third one in a row would be a little bit of an outlier for what he's done. But I don't mind it. There's a lot of weird chatter about him and like just his mentality being in a bad place and all this. I don't really care. I think that he's fine. I don't think you're getting like some crazy ownership discount though on Barrett and Randall. I don't think they're going to be like unowned by any means on DraftKings.
Yeah, to answer someone else's question, yeah, I'm off of all of Chicago now at this point, actually.
Yeah, Levine on FanDuel at 7,500. Although I'm worried about his back. Like it's a weird injury to play through. I think if it wasn't the Suns, he probably sits tonight if they were playing like OKC or something at home.
Yeah.
So that makes me a little nervous. But yeah, I don't feel like Chicago is very viable in my opinion. Sure, could they get there? And DeMar DeRozan's been unbelievable. He'd be my favorite one. But I think I prefer Siakam, given a choice between the two, especially the Bulls in the second of a back-to-back. Oddly enough, like it's weird to say that about the Bulls at home, but there's blowout risk. That game has the second biggest spread of any game on the slate tonight. That's just kind of interesting to see that there's 8-point underdogs.
Hey, I brought this guy up like 3 different times today. You never really commented one way or the other how much you like him, if not at all, or whatever. What do you think of the Diakite?
He's fine.
Okay.
It's roulette every time you're playing with the Thunder. I mean, the guy you think might play 30 minutes might play 10. With Dort in, a little bit of a knockdown because there's one more body, I guess. But I definitely am going to have some exposure on DraftKings. And also the game starts later, so I can always pivot if I need to. But I do think he's viable for sure. I don't like love it or anything. I just am going to probably do a little bit of it because of the lack of value on the slate and hoping that maybe we get a little bit of value between 7 and 8 o'clock.
What do you think of the two the Washington bigs?
Fine. I definitely prefer Hachimura to Bryant. So I'm not really considering Bryant as a part of that. It could happen. The fact that he's starting is definitely a boost down for him. Still hasn't played more than 22 minutes in the games this season. They're definitely they would definitely be careful with him, but it's okay. I like Harrell better. And I like Rui better, but especially, the center's not that strong today. So it's not as much of a concern. I thought it was going to end up being a little stronger. I like DeAndre Ayton, who I mentioned, who you didn't talk about since you got back, but I think he's a good play who's going to be in the like maybe mid-teens kind of ownership. So he's one I would look at too at center. But I think Diakite is fine. I can't really like go off and say, hey, this guy's a really good play or anything. Like it's just a guy at 3,700. That's really what it is.
I just see those centers at that cheap price. It's just.
Yeah, I mean centers sucks today, so that's why I think he's more viable. But he's fine.
Just so you guys know what we're gonna do, okay? Just to kind of feed off of some of the comments. So when Bobby leaves at 6:30, any minute now, whatever, 6:30, 6:35, I'm gonna literally just go through exactly what I'm doing as far as my process from this point to the end of how I'm building my lineups. Now can you leave and me stay here?
Yeah, I can do that because it'll keep it running on there. And I do want to add that somebody's asking about Moses Moody. I have Moses Moody with a 0 minutes projection tonight. So Moses Moody is only in play if both Iguodala and Porter are out, and probably even then he probably has to be starting. And even then, I don't think he's a very good play. Remember, these games don't game log watch with you look at these guys. They sat everybody in that one game where he put up 32 fantasy points. Other than that, we've seen 18s and we've mostly seen like 4s and 5s out of them. I would not be getting high on that one. I would much rather play Kuminga. Could it happen? Sure. But is he a better play than Damian Lee? No. And they're both bad plays. But again, this all could change. If Porter's out, if what's his name's out too, Iguodala, you could definitely make an argument for a guy like that. But the truth is, why aren't we making an argument then for Gary Payton II, who also I have projected at 0 minutes tonight because they have all their bodies available. But I think Gary Payton Jr. would be a better play than Moses Moody on DraftKings for sure. But neither one of them are looking at all like viable right now. 1v1 Duncan or Burks. Ooh, I would never come into that 1v1. That means you're on FanDuel. Definitely Burks. I don't think that's even close, Sheets. How about you? It's 5K for Robinson over there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And there's a bunch of other 5K guys that are better plays. Bogdanovich. Yeah, that's what I would do. Bam, I do like a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to get too much of him, to be honest with you. But I will have a little bit. And that was a question for Project Mayhem.
Yeah, I don't like Duncan Robinson on FanDuel at all.
No. Even if he was the same price, I would have less interest. I want those threes. You know, if you're going to play one, play stress if you want to pay down, but don't play Robin just because he's 3,900. But they're literally like the same kind of a play.
I mean, you can't find the 500 for Lowry.
Yeah, there's no way I think you can play Robinson on FanDuel. I mean, look, he could always get hot, but he's, you know, that's going to equal out to being a losing play overall, in my opinion. Yeah. Anyway. All right, I'm gonna go because I have to build all my lineups. And guys, good luck tonight. I will be in Discord, so you can at me. I will try to answer any questions I can. And
so just give me a favor. I just try something for me, because when I share my screen as not the host, like I'm doing right now, like you've got to actually allow it in. You see that?
I can do that, and then but I think that to leave, I'm okay.
All right, let's see what happens.
All right, I'm gonna try, and then if not, I'll keep an
eye.
We'll
see you tomorrow.
All right, good luck, everybody. I think I'll be able to do it. All right, good luck, everybody.
Okay, let's see. All right. Oh, I think that's good. All right. So we're sharing my screen or whatever. So this is what I'm going to do. I have all of my projections that, you know, spent all day just basically tweaking and updating and stuff like that, already just preloaded. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to run it first on SaberSim. What I did is, again, I'm playing 30 lineups in the 15. Then I'm playing, and that's the first thing is to know what you're playing, right? I'm playing 3 box outs, one and one bigger one or whatever it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to upload those, and then you can use whatever optimizer you want. I happen to like SaberSim, and I'm going to use it tonight. Now I keep my files in a different place than you guys might, but in any case, so I'm just uploading all the players, and then I'm just going to build. And now again, I can't go on a full tutorial on how to use SaberSim with the sliders. But let's just say that for those of you who know what I'm talking about, on a slate like this, at a 5-game slate, I'm willing to give a little bit more randomness, except I really like my projections tonight, if that's the best way I can describe it. I think they're really tight. So I'm going to make a little less variance. And I'm going to do a little more correlation, just in case they want to give me a bunch of that Charlotte game stacked. I don't want to prohibit it from doing that. So that's a little tweak. Those are little tweaks that I'm going to put in there. I'm going to build 30 lineups, and min uniques is fine. I don't really care about the min uniques. I'm not manually like overriding ownerships, at least to start off with. And I'm going to see what it kind of creates for me. Now, unfortunately, I can't. Well, maybe I can show you what I got. So again, I'm not necessarily putting these in, so whatever it is. So what it's giving me, based on what I said, is a whole bunch of like players, right? And a whole bunch of ownerships and a whole bunch of whatever. And then the thing I do is I just kind of like reach down here and I look through this list, and I just see, honestly, which guys I just, for whatever reason, just don't want, you know? And that happens quite a bit, you know? It's like, listen, I just don't want this guy, and I'll X him out. Now, as it turns out, I think on this slate, there's nobody that really fits that bill. The only thing I might do is, based on what Bobby and I were talking about, right? Bobby was saying that you know, Alec Burks might be a good play, and he likes PJ Washington maybe a little bit more, and he also was into Rui a little bit more than some of these other guys. So maybe I wasn't getting any of Rui, so I'm not going to manually put him in. But this is where I kind of like take Bobby's advice and just kind of do whatever. The only guy I'm thinking of maybe Xing out, but I don't think I'm going to, is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Just never seems to ceiling it for me, so I might just X him out. Maybe is that going to be the thing that costs me the slate? You know, probably not. So we're just going to probably just end up leaving it as is. So then what I do, literally just like that, and this is the little technology thing, is you could either use the lineup builder on SaberSim or just do it manually. So I just downloaded the CSV file. And again, like you talk about process, this is like after a whole day of this stuff. You know, it takes a while to get these projections in order, and you're getting it like kind of right at the end. And I'm like taking into account everything that Bobby's like kind of talked about, both when we talked pre-show, not even pre-show, when we talked for our noon show, and his takes here. And now I'm basically just going to be cutting and pasting. This is the sum result of all of that into these lineups. So one thing I will tell you is that here's one little thing I do, is so every one of these lineups I put in the 15. And then really on a day like this, I'm just going to put my top projected lineup in the highest buy-in. And then what I will sometimes do is if it's the highest one, I'll also put it in one of the 88s and really overweight it. But I don't feel that confident. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the next highest ones and put them in the next set of buy-ins. And that's just kind of the way I handle it on tonight's slate. When it's a really, really big slate, what I'll probably do is I will really distinguish between what types of lineups I want in, the lottery versus, the bigger buy-ins. But in a slate this small, you really need to be different on pretty much all slates. So that's pretty much what I got. All right, so next we'll do the same thing on FanDuel. And I usually check back here for questions. Otto Porter starting and Iguodala available. Okay. Now again, I could probably change all this, as look, something happens after 7 o'clock. And this is really, if you really want to be expert, unfortunately, this is the reality. You have to just kind of be at your computer all night because number one, you want to be there for late news. And also, technically, if you play these guys in the 7 o'clock games and it's not going well, even after, say, the first half, you really should be changing your lineups in later games to fashion, the risk that you need to take to get there. Okay. Klay Thompson will have his minutes limits increased to 30 on Monday. All right, that's interesting. So if his limit is 30, it's probably going to be 30. So then what I'll do, check this. So this is what I like to do. Is if I don't want to wait for lineups to update, what I'll do is I'll go here and I'll look at how many minutes I had Klay projected for. So it has Klay at 27 minutes. Yeah, so I have him at 27 minutes. So if I could project him for another, well, I don't know. I think a minutes limit of 3. Do I want to give him another minute and a half? Maybe. Is it going to make that much of a difference? No, maybe on the margin. So like if I get lineups with him, I'm extra confident, you know what I mean? And I guess that's the way I'm going to handle it. It's, that extra like minute and a half is probably what he's going to average out to. Remember, there's also blowout risk and all that stuff. So even though a minute's limit is 30, doesn't mean he's going to play 30. As Adam is just saying correctly, the blowout risk in that game. So let me do FanDuel now. Same deal. And I think I only got 25 in this one, in this slate, in the lottery. And with respect to the lottery on FanDuel, I don't know what it is, but I always feel like you need to get a lot more variance to really get there. I don't know why that is. So what I'll do is I'll put the 25 lineups in, and in this case, even though I really like the projection, I am going to do a little more the sim variance. Still going to update. I'm still going to juice the correlation a little bit, but on FanDuel, for whatever reason, I always put more variance in the FanDuel lottery than in the DraftKings lottery. And again, I don't know what's right or wrong, but you ask for my process, and that's what it is. So again, this is like the end of the day. And this is just kind of the final, not finalizing, because again, you got to be the NBA, you got to be there all night if you really want to do this right. So here, let's see what it looks like. And again, let me look over here. We get, well, that's the thing. It's way more entries. That's right. So I'm just going to just eyeball this, and nothing here really just makes me upset. So we'll go ahead and just probably just roll with these. Now, again, this is not the way I'll always do it. Sometimes I'll make a lot of little adjustments, Sometimes I will X guys out. You guys have seen me do it. And if you want to know the truth, the times that I've done stupid stuff like that, like X stuff out, those are usually the times I end up winning the big ones. Or he ends up getting the bigger sweat, which makes sense, right? Because if you think about it, my builds and my process is really projection based, even though, we do factor in ownership and all that stuff. When you have a projection based system, you are naturally going to be a little chalkier than if you play on gut and things like that. So if you do something like if you tweak the system or shock the system somewhat by taking at least one guy that you were otherwise going to play because of projections out completely, then you've done a good job in some sense in making yourself unique. Okay, so let's now cut and paste these in. So in FanDuel, I'm playing 25 of the slot machine. So we're going to put those in. And then we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to just put the top 3 lineups in the top 3 spots in the slam. And we're going to upload this. And, oh, I don't have it on that thing. All right, so we're good. So what I can do is I can at least tell you what I'll tell you what my ownerships are, but I don't know if you guys even want that. So I got, pretty well across the board. I don't really have anybody that heavy, except for Giddy. I have a lot of that. But that's really what I do every night with respect to some whatever. Jackie, how about I got a better idea. You're so lucky that I am not in the I'm not controlling the stream. No, I never just shut up. And I am not getting over myself. How about you get over yourself? That's even better. Butler starting. Okay. We knew that, obviously. All right. Next thing I have to do. Yeah, it stinks. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, and I went 6 for 6 in a couple of the tennises, but it wasn't good enough. Sucks. Missed by like 15 points or something like that. Didn't get the right combo. You actually didn't need 6 of 6. You needed 5 of 6, but you needed the right 5 of 6 and crap. All right. So that was the end of the tennis slate. Yeah, that's right, Jackie. Is playing these early games only a bad thing? Well, I mean, I don't think tonight, because I don't know. I don't know how much value is really going to show up from these later games. So when you feel as though there could be late games that can give you a give you good value, then you could do that. Max Strus, is he in play? Let me take a look. I'm not really getting to it. I'm not saying he's not in play. I mean, I just am missing him for some reason. I think Bridges is okay. I don't know if you need to go to Max Strus today. I mean, he's always fine, but I prefer no Butler and no Lowry to play guys like that. Let's take a look at Miles Bridges. Not really. I'm not really getting to too much of that. I mean, it looks, just okay. I'm not gonna lie. One second. What happens if I? Yeah, I think I prefer RJ Barrett. Well, that's nice. Little do I have time to do a hockey update? I probably should, right? Ugh, really don't want to. I'm going to. So I'm now just kind of, with respect to NBA, just kind of looking at the Discord for any other update, which I really don't see anything big coming. Okay, so now I'm just because I have a little time, I'm updating my hockey. And what I do with hockey is a little different. One thing that I end up getting when I play these hockey lineups is I get a lot of guys that are just really potential zeros. They're like on the fourth line, but they'll show up in projections. I want to X those types of guys out. So that's one thing I'll do, specifically to hockey. Can I avoid doing all of them? No, I'll do the FanDuel also. You know what I'm going to do? I'll bring this to the other screen so I can see your chat. Where is your chat? Okay. On a two-gamer, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not on a two-gamer. We'll see. We'll see what they're projecting. I gotta have something. I gotta have some number. Maybe I should just put a minimum projection of like 2 or something like that. But honestly, these two-game hockey slates are kind of ridiculous. I just like playing, so I'm gonna do it. Ooh, I know what we could do. We'll do this after a lock, actually. Hold on. I know what we're gonna do. As a special, we're gonna do the showdown slate in Carmen's honor. We are definitely gonna do the showdown slate. We're gonna handicap that, and that one we're definitely gonna use SaberSim for because I love the lineups I get. The showdowns, the SaberSim lineups, showdown lineups. Those are awesome. You've never heard of any of the guys that are playing those things. Let me just finish my hockey. At least because that starts before 7. And then we can really focus on what's important. That's the Knicks Utah showdown slate. All right, almost done. I'll tell you what's funny though. One of my biggest hits, I hit a. Remember, you guys remember this back in the NHL Finals? I hit the showdown slate in the hockey all by myself. You know, freaking hockey show. I think it was the last game too. Freaking nuts. I'm telling you, I should do more of that. Dude, remember that, Adam, when you and I battled that baseball showdown right down to the wire? That was. I got to do more of that. All right, let me just run this hockey thing real quick. Yeah, you did more than I did. Yeah, you did. You did well. Let's see. Yeah, I love those playing those zeros in the baseball showdowns, playing those relievers. You're playing the relievers when a chalk guy is like the same price as your reliever or something like that. Or it was less. I forget how it worked, but it was the reason why the reliever getting a zero is actually good or something like that. Forget how it works, but we'll revisit it as the season starts again. Now, the idea was that the only way you could get certain studs in was to put a zero in, salary wise. That you had to play a guy that rated to get a zero. Oh, it looks as low. Oh, I'm running out of juice here. Let's try again. 651. They're really pushing me to the end here. And after 7, we'll take a breath. We'll check some ownerships. I got a little time tonight, and then we'll work on the showdown. I definitely want to do that. If you guys don't want to hang around, it's fine by me. I'm here anyway. Let's see. Let me see something. I want to talk to guys being mean. I don't know why, but I was talking hockey a little bit. Let's see what the hockey looks like. I want to update this to the site. All right, let's update this to the site first. And that's what I'm going to win tonight. Totally, I'm gonna win nothing in the NBA. I'm going to win the NBA showdown and the hockey. By the way, if you guys didn't catch this in the early show, I was not a good DFS player over the weekend. I was really bad. I mean, I bailed out with my lucky hockey lineup, but it was an awful display by me of missing the people who were out, putting in lineups at 3 o'clock, and then leaving for the day. Just a horror show. Usually the DFS gods do not bail you out like that, but today I got lucky. And this week I got lucky. All right. Hey, may as well do the hockey now. So we'll do the same thing with the hockey, and we'll just do it. Ready? So again, projections are already in there. We have a full 7 minutes to play with, so we got plenty of time. Oh, why do we want to update the now? That would be a trick to try to upload the hockey lineups to the NBA slate. That would not. Well, it wouldn't do anything. It just wouldn't accept them. But, all right, hockey. Let's go. I'm going to upload the new projections to the hockey. Let's just see what it gives me raw before I go ahead and do something. Like, definitely want to keep this pinned to the right. So let's keep the settings the way they are for hockey for tonight. And then we're just going to have to pick out which guys I want to X. I'm not going to care about like the stack size or anything like that on a 2-game slate, or any exposure or anything. I just want to see what kind of guys I have at like these terrible lines. So I got a whole bunch of guys that on the 4 line. Okay, so what we're going to do is if they're not on the power play line, at least they're getting X'd. Is that fair? Okay. So this guy's getting X'd. This guy's getting X'd. This guy's getting X'd. And this guy's getting X'd. So if you're on the 4th line and you're on a power play line, you get in. Aside from that, you're out. Really, really high level analysis there. And then we're going to go into DraftKings with this, and literally just going to replace it. There's just so much variance in hockey that I don't even want to put my extra takes on here because I really don't know all that much about it. So I will tell you this, that I do have 100% of some guy, and I'll stop you guys from asking the same question you guys ask all the time. You ever limit your exposures? It is so rare that I will manually limit my exposures. If I get to 100% of something, I will usually just roll with it. I mean, it's kind of sucks to do that in hockey just because of the way results distribute, but that's just the way it's going to be. Remember, it's not about plays, it's about lineups. You know, if your top X lineups are what you want, then that's what you run with. Okay, so this is what I will do. This is what I'm going to do. This is just not even a trick. I don't even know if you guys know this, but you know, you can use the same projections when you're uploading to the Showdown. I don't know why I used to do this. What I would do is I would do separate sheets for the Showdown. But you could use the same freaking projections. You know, it's literally no difference because when you use the SaberSim, whatever, it'll manually upload. It'll already put the right salary in. The only thing that you can't do is kind of stare at it in advance. You know, when I would put the sheets up, it would show what the sheets value scores. You can rank them, whatever. But if you just want to use the straight projections and let like an optimizer do it for you, you could use the same projections because look what happens. Like, do we want to do Miami, Washington too? No, I want to do Miami, Washington. What's that paying? The Miami, Washington. 10K for first. 2 minutes. Can I do it in 2 minutes? No, I'm not going to be a freak. I'm not going to do it in 2 minutes. But let's do the. I'm going to do the Utah one. We'll pull up the Utah game. Knicks Utah, and this I'm going to change because again, if news comes out, you know, we'll be on top of this. I just want to reserve some lineups. So I'm just going to upload the same projections that I have from the whole slate. Now again, 99%, 90% of them are going to be irrelevant. But it doesn't matter, right? So you have all these guys are not in the slate because they're not in that game, but they ignore them all. And then the only other thing is the ownerships are going to be wrong, but that's okay. So here are the projections. Let's see if I built, say, 20 lineups. You got to pin this all the way to the right. You got to pin all the variance to the right. Can't worry about correlation at all. I mean, you could put some ownership fade if you want, but we're going to probably be screwing around with this. And then you can just run it and see what it just kind of provides for you. So let's see what happens. So this would be the 20 lineup build as of right now. And well, that's actually really interesting. There's nobody that's 100%. I don't think. Oh, I bet you between the two of them there are. Yeah. So you're getting like some ownership of Mitchell, Randall. Ooh, there's one lineup with Burks and the captain. I like that. Yeah, no, we're doing this, Randall. We're doing that, Adam. Don't worry about it. And then you got all these other guys in there. You got some Quentin Grimes. There you go. Nerlens Noel. Udoka Izwabuki. Now we're talking. Now we're getting some guys. Okay. So Randall right now is 65% utility and 25%. So he's 90%. So you could either, and this is where I will screw around. And what I'll probably do is I'll take my favorite, maybe I'll take 10 from this pool. And then I'll do a totally other build, not even another build. I'll just X Randall out of 10 others, something like that. So I'll go 50% of him, which is still going to be 40% below the field. Or I could just make him 50% here, right? And then what you could do, like if you have a take, you want to bump up Alec Burks. You could play some more Alec Burks, right? And so this is exactly what I'm going to do. So just for fun, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 10 lineups. This is my top 10, download them, just like that. Then we're going to take Randall out of captain. We're going to take him out of here, and then we're going to download those 10. And then what we're going to do is we got to put Randall back in, so we reset exposures. But now what we're going to do is we're going to get Burks, and we're going to lock him. We're going to lock him, and we're going to make 5 new lineups with Burks locked and allowing Randall. So that's those. We'll download those. And then we're going to, if you really want to make sure you have it right, now we'll X Randall. Now we'll X Randall and lock Burks for 5 there. Okay, so now we got all these lineups that we can now, there could be some overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload all these to DraftKings and see exactly how many unique lineups I actually created just now. It's possible that I did dupes of the Alec Burks lineups, but what's cool about it is DraftKings won't put the dupes in there. You know what I mean? Like if you upload the same lineup twice, it'll only give you kind of credit for one of them. So I got what I got 1, 2, 3, 4 files. So let's hope 1. Okay. Then 2. This one. Boom. And there's 3. This one. And then there's 4. This one. And how many lineups do we know that we have? Okay. Thank you, TrueDFS. So now we're going to go back in the lobby, go back into the showdown slate. See what we got here. And that's the New York, Utah. What do we got here? 10K for now. What do you want? If you really want to be sharp, we'll enter this one with the 10K for first on the theory that, you know, it's probably a little weaker as opposed to like being greedy and going for the 25K. But who are we kidding? So we're going to enter this one, and it's got, see how funny is that? It's only 21 unique lineups. I did 4 different files. I did a 10, a 10, a 5, and a 5. And of those 30 that I requested, 21 of them are unique. So we'll enter all those. Boom. And then as we get kind of later on, maybe we'll tweak a little bit. And I'll tell you something else. This is something I think about, is if there's someone that really wants to put all their talents together, they'll, number one, figure out how to use their sports betting takes to accurately hedge and offset their DFS takes. They'll get their showdown things to offset their prop bets. Like if I were live to this Utah Knick game, right, and I needed, say, you know, if I needed someone in DFS, but I didn't have, say, someone else, I would maybe load up on them in Showdown, maybe, or something like that. The guy that I didn't need in DFS. And that's something that you can do. You didn't upload the last file? Well, what's cool about it is we could always test that. So let's do this. Let's just upload all these. So let's upload this last one. This one right here. We could all do them all again. How about that? You could do them all. And in this way, what we could do is now we can go back into the slate. Maybe you're right, but let's just take a look. So we'll go back into here. This is the one that we're looking at, the Utah Knicks. And then we go here, and we hit again, and it says, nope, there are only 21 lineups. That's it. Only 21 total lineups. We have 21 entries. Now you want to take a look at some ownerships here, because this Toronto game is obviously where all the ownership is, right? So let's take a look at my big one here. I'm sure everybody's really chalky. Yeah, so Van Vliet's 50%, Hayward 65%, Harrell, that's not that bad, 20%, Robinson 23%. Okay, so this is what we got to root for here. Now these guys I can change a little bit later. But it turns out I didn't play both Van Vliet and Siakam together in my big one. So we know that what's his name is going to go off now. Want to take a look at the hockey ownerships? Take a look at that. Well, actually, let's look at some more other ownerships here. Let's go into the NBA. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the not the box out. Let's look at the fadeaway. We'll download these and we'll see the ownerships here. Hold on, I'll pull this up over here. So Hayward 45% owned, Van Vliet 41, Siakam 40, Oubre 29, Trent 22, Kuzma 21, Duncan Robinson pretty reasonable at 19, Harrell at 15%. That one is pretty reasonable. Wow, LaMelo only 8%. Interesting. That's Jimmy Butler is not really only 4%. Is that true? No. That can't be the case. Oh no, it's this guy. Sorry about that. Oops. Yeah, Jimmy Butler, 4%. Dude, that's a horror show. That's really bad. That's who you're supposed to play. That's what you're supposed to do. Do I have any of them? This is a terrible mistake then. I got to figure out how to do better. If I'm not going to have a 4% on Butler. Yeah, I have 0 of him. Oh, disaster. Let's take a look at the hockey then. I'm sure these are all freaking huge chalk. What am I getting from it? Oh, it's not even listing them yet. Let's see. Yeah, Matthews 58%. There you go. I got a couple of. I get these guys. This is what happens in hockey. I remember, but didn't you once ask me, Adam? You said, I'm having trouble getting like some low-owned plays. All I get is this crap on when I use Saberson. Look at all this. There's a 2-game slate. Is it possible these guys are actually playing? I have a 0.2% owned guy, a 2% owned guy, and another 2% owned guy. This is literally a 2-game slate. Maybe they get zeros, but hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's all I get is this kind of crap in hockey. You know what happens to Jay Levo, whoever he is? Excuse me. If I'm not mistaken, Jay Levo, last time he played, he had 15 fantasy points and promoted from the AHL on Monday. Let's go. We'll see what happens. It says whether he gets in or not depends on Tero Tavanian. If he does play, it'll likely be a bottom 6 roll. Okay. I need like 2 points, 5 points, whatever it is. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to eat. If anything comes up, I'm kind of around. So if I decide to come back in, and I'll pop into Discord with any changes or anything like that. But yeah, Levo. Dude, I've done it. I'm telling you, I've been in serious contention with these zeros. All right, good luck, everybody. I'll be back.